Okay.
Okay, and that's a wrap. Are we ready? Are we in the mood?
We're in the mood.
Yes.
Okay. So, first, should we have everyone introduce themselves just really briefly? Maybe just your name and what you find to be the most important thing that you're up to these days.
My name's Amina. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I think seeing my family is the most important thing to me right now.
Nice.
I'm Al. I'm an AmeriCorps and I use she, her pronouns. I'd say the most notable thing in my life right now is just that I'm figuring everything out.
I'm Drea. I use she, her pronouns, and I think the most important thing I'm doing right now is finishing my degree.
My name is Casey. I use he, him, his, and I'm about to graduate Western in 8 days, I think now, and that's really important to me. And I'm just finishing up a lot of projects I've been working on. That I'm really proud of.
Cool. And I'm Carmen, and the most important thing I'm doing right now is talking to you all. And to open up, a question that I think would be really powerful for you each to kind of chime in and answer. As seasoned college students now, what are some things you know now that you wish you knew earlier on when you were younger? Maybe before you chose a college or kind of started on that path.
So when I was in high school, I remember all my teachers telling me how challenging college was going to be and that I needed to gear up and get really ready because it was going to be so scary and so hard. And so I really prepared myself for that and went in kind of expecting maybe to fail a little bit at first, but what I really found was it was most difficult emotionally to be, away from my family. But what no one told me was the joys that would come to counteract the really lows that can happen during, the stressful periods of growth, being away from family for the first time. So on one end, there was just, some really stressful times where I leaned on my roommates or my close friends, sometimes my professors as well. And then there were just these incredibly joyful moments where I felt like I had discovered something new and powerful about myself or made these incredible new connections that I'd never had that depth of relationship with someone before. And no one warned me that I'd end up being so happy.
That's so funny because I actually had like the opposite experience. And I think it's because I went to a larger school than some of my other friends did, but I remember everybody saying college is going to be the best 4 years of your life, everything's wonderful, everything's taken care of, you're just going to have a blast. And I remember getting to school and the first couple days I was having a hard time, but I thought it would just get better, and it didn't get better until 6 months into it. And I remember coming home for winter break, and all my friends who were in really small schools had a really great time. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm in the wrong place, this isn't where I should be, I'm miserable, all my friends are having a blast. But then I talked to some of my friends after we all hung out together when it was a smaller group, and they all told me they were absolutely miserable too, and so I felt much better. Yes. And then after that I felt more comfortable, and then I realized sometimes in bigger schools it just takes a while longer to find where your spot is. And after my spring quarter here, then I really enjoyed my time here and kind of felt more at home. But I had the opposite experience of thinking there was something wrong with me or my experience at school because I was having a hard time. That makes sense.
It can take a while to get your feet underneath you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because you said it took a while to get comfortable or get better. What were things that happened, or what were things that you did that made it better after you came back?
That's a good question. I think I left my dorm room more often. I had a really hard time. I lost somebody also my first week of school, and it was kind of the first person that I've lost besides my first unexpected loss, and so I was really struggling with that, and I ended up just having a hard time leaving my dorm room. And my spring, the weather was nicer. I had made more friends that I could go places to. I kind of got a feel for campus, and I figured out a job situation, and I was just able to spend as little time in my dorm room as possible, which made me feel a lot more happy and alive, and just really opened up a new excitement about being there, if that makes sense. So
I feel like college definitely made me more brave, and I kind of hear that sentiment in like saying you're leaving your dorm room more often too, because I feel like when I was in high school I was really afraid to go places alone, like go out to dinner or go to the movies alone. Even just going to the gym alone sometimes was intimidating.
Totally.
And then there is that sense of being alone and having to do things as an individual in college before you make friends. And I felt like I was really able to develop my confidence by doing all those things alone for a while.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
It's like a lot more self-discovery happens, I think, with everyone. Yeah, with that comes with independence, though, because you're kind of forced to, though. No matter what, you're gonna have to do it. Yeah.
Right. College definitely forces you to grow. I think that's kind of the beauty of it. You know, you're putting yourself in this uncomfortable situation, this intentional discomfort, for the ultimate goal of growing, both emotionally and it is growing pains, exactly, both emotionally and intellectually. Yeah.
It hurts when your brain is growing so big, you know, and it just gotta. From learning so much.
Oh my gosh, so insightful.
I also think it's interesting you mentioned like in your kind of in your recollection of like the first piece of college that you experienced loss. And I think sometimes like when teachers or professionals talk about going to college, they create this really high expectation and like this expectation that the only thing happening in students' lives is college, and like life doesn't stop. So like from the transition of being a senior in high school and becoming a freshman at community college in your hometown, or if you go across the country to go to university, like whatever that looks like for any individual, your life is still happening.
Totally.
So you have the same like challenges you might experience, like losses, family stress, relationship stress, and then there's this whole like world of adults being like, no, the only thing that's relevant to you is college, right? And like these other parts of you and your experience get kind of like shuffled into the background.
I had so many adults tell me that I was kind of like in fake life when I was in college. Like they would tell me when real life starts, you're going to experience X, Y, and Z. Like you're going to have to, you know, think about paying your rent and go to school go to work 9 to 5, and like you're not going to be able to just skip class when you want. Like real life is really hard, and you prepare yourself. And I thought that was so. It was really trivializing the experiences I had as a college student, because I am living a real life. Like my life is real.
Right.
I have real feelings. I have real exhaustion. Like I work on real projects with real people, and I'm developing as a real person. Is that not all real life?
Right.
And so I think that we can definitely be marginalized as students as somewhere between being like kids and being real adults. You know, almost like we are developing, but it's not like we're adults in development. We are adults. So
Like what you said was like really resonated with me, because like I remember just like thinking I would become like in a like a rom-com the second I got to college.
100%.
Yeah, I was like, my life is gonna change, and then I got to college and I remember realizing I still have to brush my teeth here.
Right.
Like, you know, like all of the little
Life is still happening.
yeah, like I'm still the person I was.
Right.
Like even if my life is really different, like still gotta wake up in the morning, still gotta brush my teeth. Like my life didn't magically become this like movie.
Right.
Exactly. I was really expecting like my cute person to come into my life, and I'd ace all my classes all of a sudden without doing homework, and my hair would be perfect when I woke up in the morning. Like
Dreams.
Just, I think they sometimes like that's what gets told is gonna happen, but
that's kind of what we see in movies and media.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And that misconception about it's not a 9 to 5, so it's not real life. It is again, it's real life. It's just a different type, because there's still a schedule. It might not be a 9 to 5, but something we all talked about at the panel when we did that was it's organizing how you spend your time, because you may not be in class that much, but you still have to balance so many things, like if you're working and your homework, because sometimes you're at the campus till 2 a.m. so that accounts for the work that you're doing too, and it's definitely something that's overlooked by a lot of people.
And even having a social life takes hours, and I know so many of my friends who neglected it because they were really focused on performing well in classes and working part-time. But investing time in your social life is part of, I think, a development as a whole person and being happy. Because I know that Carmen and I, we can definitely like almost have to force ourselves to engage in social activities. Well, you know, we talked about it.
It's true.
Yeah, because it can be hard. Like we're tired, but then at the end, like we feel a little better for it. That in itself is part of like real responsibilities too.
Right.
To develop and engage in relationships with our peers and other people.
And it's part of networking. You know?
It is.
Yeah. Like,
but even just for the soul, like even doing it just to be a happy whole human, you know.
And then you have people to rely on, like I think like part of the reason why getting into your major is so exciting is because then you have like you're consistently with the same people. You're creating a network and people to like have the same experiences or similar experiences after you leave. So like some of like my closest friends, like, you know, they're having similar experiences, and people you can talk to about that maybe your other friends aren't going through. And then you can also like trade information, be like, hey, I know this person this place, like, and I think it's nice when like you're like heart people and your networking people can interact, because like be the same people, because then you have like support in both ways. Yeah, totally.
Drea, do you have any recollections about
Yes. Hello. Yeah, I think just like listening to all of you guys, something I'm thinking about in terms of like getting out of your dorm and like socializing and forcing yourself to do stuff that is like essentially good for you, that is still difficult, really speaks to like self-care, and not this like falsehood of like self-care is like a bubble bath or like spending a bunch of money on things, which is something I wish I realized going into school, was like you do need to take care of yourself in ways that aren't like superficial. Those things are great and fun and everyone loves them, mostly. But like checking in with yourself and really reflecting on this very like transitional time, and noting just like how you're feeling and not being super hard on yourself. I know that's something that I really struggled with transitioning from like high school to community college to a university, was just checking in and like being okay with all of the uncertainty and newness, and like that can be really frustrating and weird and confusing, and it's really easy to get down, and then a way to like combat that is just being like self-care.
Yeah, one of my favorite forms of self-care is purely just like rest, just taking time to rest, because I think a lot of people may correlate rest with laziness, especially in college, because it can be like a competition to talk about who got the least sleep or who's had the most coffee or who has the most projects due, but try not to get caught up in that, and taking pride in how much time you can rest, and really trying to focus on your sleep is one of, I think, the strongest things that I did for myself in college to help myself succeed. You need just as much rest in college as you do when you're a teen.
And knowing when to do that, because in college, I mean, for me personally, I've always felt like I could be doing more work. No matter what time of day it is, even on a weekend, I'm like, oh, I could have spent more time on this assignment.
Fake news.
But yeah, that's not the case. Like you can schedule some time just to rest, and it's a lot more important than you realize. Yeah,
you can and you need to.
Yeah,
and you have a right to, and it's like it's your duty to yourself. You owe it to yourself to take time to rest, because you burn out otherwise. Not every moment should be used to do work.
Right.
I think unlearning that notion that like all, you know, any time spent like indulging in like, you know, TV or resting or just like being alone, is really talked about in like a negative sense.
It's called lazy.
Yeah. And unlearning that in college is like wildly important.
I love that. I feel like that should be a thing, like hashtag unlearn the notion. I like that. Because it's so true. There's so many things like when it comes to expectations, like social and media portrayals, like you have to unlearn all these different things as you move throughout the experience of what college is. One of the things I learned from this roommate I had when I was living in Seattle after I graduated from Western and she was super hilarious. She's an engineering grad from MIT and just like one of the smartest people I've ever met. And she had this whole thing that she called the fallacy of the 5 friend group, which ironically there are 5 of us and we like each other. But it was this idea that like there's from the TV show Friends, people have this expectation that they should have this like really solid core group of friends at all times that like are there for them, and there's like a laugh track in the background, and like you have people who like celebrate your birthday like in a really big and like remarkable way, and that will meet you for a coffee, and those things like happen in college and they happen in life, but it's also totally reality, and it's totally okay if they're not happening all the time.
I didn't have a 5 friend group.
Nor did I.
No.
Like I had at most maybe like 1 or 2 really strong friendships, and a lot of times I felt like they were by proximity, like, oh, we live together, like let's support each other and like talk about our day and become friends. And I feel like that was a really helpful thing for me to process of like that's kind of this idea that's out there, but it doesn't necessarily represent the reality of most people. And it's just comforting to know like it's okay to like go to the gym by yourself. It's okay to like walk downtown and get ice cream by yourself, or maybe with 1 close friend, or
And it's okay to have just like 2 friends.
right. And it's also okay to have tons of friends and to find that community. But I think one of the really huge things that I've learned post-college that I wish I knew before college is that every single person's experience is going to look different, and there isn't really one right way to do it, or one like perfect formula for how that chunk of your life is supposed to look. Like I know many people who, you know, stopped going to college for a couple years because of maybe finances, and then they went back and finished later, or like family things came up, and there's just all these different paths towards having a really full, happy life. And so it's just so helpful to like remove those pressures of like this is exactly how it has to be. Like I need to have 7 friends meet me at Red Square. We're gonna have a ball. We're gonna have a blast, to use Amina's term, and then like I'm gonna go get straight A's on my finals, and then I'm gonna graduate in perfect 4 years. Like there's all these expectations that really don't need to confine people's feelings when they start college.
While you've been talking, I've been thinking of all of the shows that have a 5 friend group.
Right?
It's
That's
like
the thing.
the Big Bang Theory, Friends, New Girl,
Yep.
the one with Alec Baldwin, right? Doesn't what is that guy? What is you guys know that show?
I don't know that show.
30 Rock.
But Alec
That's it.
Baldwin's daughter's name is Carmen, so. Do you know?
Didn't his daughter also marry Justin Bieber? Haley Baldwin.
Baldwin?
Justin Bieber's
I think
married?
that's her.
That's a
his-
different Baldwin.
I want to say that's his niece.
Okay. Anyways, there are a lot of 5 friend groups out
Right.
there. Yeah.
Also, where are the balls? Like, I thought college had, like, these fancy, like,
okay.
Gossip Girl
Like,
trick
yeah,
No.
where are they?
We're at Western. We don't have we're Greek system. We don't have sororities or fraternities, and we don't have
Right.
football. Other schools do have those fancy,
There's
fancy
balls.
dances.
I was
Yeah.
like, where are they?
Not here.
I'm sad. It's okay, though. Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, when you're talking about like
Casey coming in with the last thought.
Bring it in. Bring
being
it home.
okay, yeah, being okay with doing things on your own. Because I mean, I have an extreme FOMO, like fear of missing out.
Me too.
And
I suffer from that as well.
I've actually seen a lot of my friends, especially like freshman, sophomore year, say yes to absolutely everything. Like, oh, there's a party, I'm going to go do this. Because you're wanting to make friends, you're wanting to network. But I learned now being a senior that it's okay, and you're going to have to say no to some things.
Right.
And it's worth it. Because
Right.
like it's all about prioritizing. But
Say no to parties.
not you always have time to get a beer with a friend, but you also need to realize you can't neglect
Right.
why
It's
you're
a
here.
balance.
Why
It's a
you're here.
balancing
Yeah,
act
exactly.
for sure. Yeah. And
Can't be all beers. There have to be some papers too.
right. It's a fine balance. And it's true, like I feel like I was a senior in college like a few years ago, but I'm still learning that thing of like it's okay that some other people are out having a good time. I am going to take care of myself and cook myself some vegetables, 'cause I haven't eaten vegetables in a week, and I'm going to rest and be prepared for tomorrow, and like just being okay with that. And I think that's just something that comes with like age and experience that you kind of have to go through.
It's helpful to realize that you're not there, so you're not missing out.
Right.
Like, I feel like there's, like, you picture yourself being there when you have FOMO, and you're like, oh, like, I could be having so much fun. But if you're not there, then you're not missing out on this thing. So
But
you're
they're
also-
missing
Does
out
that
'cause
make
you're not
sense?
there.
Yeah, like, it's like, oh.
You're also
like,
imagining an idealized version of if you were there.
Exactly,
It's not reality.
exactly.
In
Yeah.
reality, no hot guy comes up to you and is like, I've been staring at you across the room all night. Can I please have your number and take you out to drinks or something? It doesn't happen that way.
No.
You know? Anyway. I think this was a really great talk. I really enjoyed chatting with all of you.
I do too.
Any last things? to
I can't wait
mention?
for the next episode.
I can't wait. See you at
Get
the
ready
next
for
table, whatever
the
shape
table
it might
talk.
be.
We'll have a more realistic one. There'll be one person this next one.
All right, should we wave and say bye?
Sure.
But yeah,
Bye.
thanks for listening.
Bye.
Don't forget to floss.
Coffee is not breakfast. Try to feed yourself and drink lots of water.
Community college is dope and it saves you a ton of money.
I just like apply for work study when you apply for FAFSA WAFSA.
Yeah.
Call your family and loved ones.
Ring ring.
Hello?
Woo!
Hit me.
Hey, it's me. I need money again.